The Sacramento Backstabbers, my name, not theirs, could be coming to an MLS city near you. Jose Mourinho has not got time for the BBC. Peter Crouch joins the Century Club, which, to not continue the theme from George's episode yesterday, is way less sexual than it sounds, and 44 is the new 20 at the Africa Cup of Nations. It's Thursday, February 2nd. I'm Taylor Rockwell, and you are listening to The Goalmouth, a podcast collaboration between Dirty Tackle, Howler Magazine, and The Total Soccer Show. First on today's menu of bite-sized soccer news, Sacramento Republic fans are angry, and boy, does it seem like they have a right to be. As Daryl told you earlier this week, Tuesday was the MLS expansion bid deadline day, and the California franchise was expected to be a strong contender for consideration. In fact, sources indicated that it was a case of when and not if. The city is one of the 20th largest media markets in the country, already has a stadium deal in place, and features the Sacramento Republic, the reigning USL champions who regularly draw crowds of over 11,000 in a league where the average is closer to 3,000. And then things took a turn. As reported by Sports Illustrated's Brian Strauss, when the city's bid was submitted by an investment group led by pharmaceutical entrepreneur Kevin Nagel, who also happens to be the Republic's managing partner, there was no mention of the USL club anywhere to be found. As Strauss writes, quote, "The bid material was scrubbed of the Republic logo. The club's website said nothing about expansion. There was no press release, even as teams that weren't even teams were making their announcements on Tuesday afternoon. Nagel removed the SRFC from his Twitter handle. Republic fans panicked. Nagel and the club stayed silent," end quote. Nagel eventually broke his silence in a very magnanimous way by saying, quote, "My preference would be to keep the Republic name," end quote. That didn't sit too well with the Republic, who put out a statement of their own, which read, quote, "We are as surprised as our fans to hear that various news outlets are reporting that a bid was submitted to MLS for Sacramento, which does not reference Sacramento Republic FC. If these reports are true, this is deeply troubling to us. This journey has always been an endeavor to elevate your team, Sacramento Republic FC, to MLS. If the bid submitted yesterday by Mr. Nagel did not include Sacramento Republic FC, it was in violation of our agreements and without our authorization, and we will take this up with the appropriate parties immediately," end quote. Stern words there. The mayor of Sacramento has called for a meeting later this week in hopes of bringing the two sides together in order to find a common solution. But at present, it seems like what could have been a happy day for soccer fans in California's capital has turned into a standoff that could have far-reaching consequences. Speaking of awkward situations, Jose Mourinho is as salty as ever, and that's not just in reference to the salt and pepper he's got going on upstairs. Now, before we get into this one, it's worth noting that I'm not going to try to do the quotations here because there are just too many, but you'll figure out what's going on. Speaking to the BBC's Martin Fisher following Manchester United's 0-0 draw with Hull City, Jose was, Jose. When asked what his overall impression of the match was, the 54-year-old responded, "We didn't score. If you don't score, it's impossible to win." Martin then followed up with a question about how good Hull goalkeeper Eldin Jakupovic had been. Mourinho stated, "Yeah, the goalkeeper was good." And that's actually not doing it justice. It was really more like, "Yeah, the goalkeeper was good." The interview continued in this way for another 60 seconds, with Mourinho eventually implying that Hull had done what they had to do, figured out what they could get away with from the referee, and then done just that. Martin's final question, though he probably did not know it at the time, was, "What particularly did you think the referee should have pulled them up on then?" Jose immediately replied, "If you don't know football, you shouldn't have a microphone," and then he promptly walked off camera. Perhaps the rumors that Antoine Griezmann will be playing for the Red Devils next season will cheer up sad Jose. According to reports in France, the Atletico Madrid attacker/energetic French dancer has agreed in principle to join United this summer. Of course, that does not mean that Manchester United and Atletico Madrid have agreed to any sort of transfer fee. So why then is this a story? Well, that's right. The January transfer window closed on Tuesday, which means it's already time to get the rumor mongering started for this summer. Staying in England, 15 years after scoring his first goal in England's top flight, Peter Crouch became one of only 26 players to knock home 100 Premier League goals. The strike, which came 7 minutes into Stoke City's eventual 1-1 draw with Everton, elevates the gangly striker into the realm of legends like Alan Shearer, Thierry Henry, Ian Wright, and Robbie Fowler. In terms of how he managed his 100 goals, Crouch registered 48 with his head, 43 with his right foot, 9 with his left foot, and 1 from the penalty spot. Not too bad from a gentleman who, when once asked what he would be if he weren't a footballer, famously responded with the absolutely accurate statement of a virgin. And finally, on Wednesday, Egypt advanced past Burkina Faso to make the final of the Africa Cup of Nations, and that victory was thanks in no small part to the heroics of their 44-year-old goalkeeper Issam El Hadari. The two sides battled to a 1-1 draw after regulation and extra time, and so to a penalty shootout they went. Egypt missed their first spot kick, thanks to some fine goalkeeping from Burkina Faso's Kwaku Hervé Kofi. However, Kofi went from hero to villain only a few minutes later when his penalty was saved by El Hadari. Egypt's Amir Warda put his side ahead 4-3 in the shootout, and then El Hadari pulled off another sprawling block to send the Pharaohs through to the tournament final. So far in the Cup of Nations, the 44-year-old goalkeeper has played in 5 games, kept 4 clean sheets, and saved 2 penalties. Not too shabby for a gentleman who got his first cap in 1996, won the Egyptian Premier League 8 times in 11 seasons, and has already won the Africa Cup of Nations 4 times. That would be 1998, 2006, 2008, and 2010. Meanwhile, I'm 32, and both my knees make audible noises, loudly audible noises, when I stand up after crouching for more than 30 seconds. Egypt and El Hadari will be looking for more silverware in the tournament final on Sunday, where they will meet either Cameroon or Ghana, who are playing later on today. And that brings us to the end of today's Goalmouth. You can explore all these stories in more depth by subscribing to our newsletter. The link is in the show notes. Thank you, as ever, to everyone who has been leaving us nice reviews on iTunes. For those of you who've left us not nice reviews, I know a businessman in Sacramento who I would love for you to meet. I've been Taylor Rockwell. Ryan Bailey will be with you tomorrow. But until then, here's today's Goalmouth top tip. If you're going to look like Peter Crouch, you better get good at soccer really, really quickly.